What's up, YouTube? Guess I'm gonna do back-to-back YouTube videos. This one's gonna be Sex Game, and we're gonna call it Sex Game Wines that can help with hot women. Now, most pickup artists and dating coaches, about 90% of the time, they leave this information out intentionally on purpose. They don't talk about this in their 2 hour, 3 hour, 4 hour seminars because most pickup artists, most dating coaches, 90% of the time, they're utless, gutless cowards. They just want you to buy their books and their DVDs and things of that nature. And I feel like that the stuff they don't talk about, I make into YouTube videos. Like, remember I made the video about colognes and body sprays? Well, we're going to talk about what happens if you use wine to try to charm a girl. Now, most guys don't know this, but when you first meet a girl, there's two rules. The first one is you don't take her to a place like Red Lobster or Olive Garden or Sizzlers when you first meet her. You wait 3 months later, 9 months later, or you can even wait 1 year after you meet the girl because you don't know the girl. And most mistakes that guys make is that they spend 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, or $100 at Sizzlers or Red Lobster or Olive Garden, and they don't even score. It's like baseball. You get 3 chances to hit the ball out of the park. The first time, you strike out. The second time, you strike out. Third time, you strike out, and you get sent back to the dugout. That's if it's baseball. If it's basketball, you get 6 fouls. And you strike out all 6 times in basketball. Once you get your 6th foul, you foul out the basketball game, you can't get back into the basketball game. That's usually how that goes. And then if it's football, if you keep doing what they call unnecessary roughness, you get ejected from the football game and can't come back for the rest of the football game. Might even get suspended. The whole point is you shouldn't take a woman out to these places for the first 3 to 9 months until you get to know her. If you take her to a place like Burger King or McDonald's, first see how she reacts. If she reacts pretty good, then later on you can take her to a Red Lobster or an Olive Garden or a Sizzlers to see how she reacts. 2 years later, if she's doing real good, you can take her to the expensive restaurants in Hollywood, Santa Monica, Beverly Hills, Culver City, the Grove, especially the Grove. You can take her to places like that, Century City. You can take her to places like that where you can see, the working progress. Now, the reason why I'm talking about wine is because it has never been talked about. Now, I've actually tasted some wine, and wine's pretty good. It's another form of alcohol. Now, there's red wine, there's black wine, and then there's white wine. Hold on, every time I do these YouTube videos, early in the morning, somebody loves to call and interrupt me. Sorry about that, people. Like I said, there's white wine, there's black wine, and there's red wine. Now, when you learn how to speak multiple languages, you can use the wine to charm the girl. There's the flowers, there's the roses, there's the box of chocolate, and then there's wine. Now, when guys speak multiple languages, they can use to say, well, this was made in 1942. And I feel like that if you're going to try to use wine, you got to know which ones are good. Same thing with champagne. Champagne's another form of alcohol. And you see, most men don't know their champagnes. They don't know their alcohol beverages. All they know is, I'm gonna take you to the liquor store and buy a Coke 45, and then they wonder why the girl be looking like, is that the best you can do? Is that all you got? Is that what you can bring to the table? And I feel like that if it's white wine, you use white wine if you're actually taking her out to dinner. That's when you can use white wine. If you can't get white wine because it's too expensive, there's black wine. Black wine is very strong, very powerful. I've actually tasted once when I was like 18 or 19. It's very strong and powerful. White wine is like the most popular brand of wine. Like, it's in every restaurant. I'm serious. You go to Beverly Hills, it sells out. You go to Hollywood, it sells out. You go to Santa Monica, it sells out. Everywhere you go, white wine sells out. It's their number one seller, white wine. You go to black, you drink black wine, and it's the second one that sells out. And then they have one that is very hard to get, like it's very limited, and that is red wine. Red wine is limited. Like, they have it, but they can't always sell it because it could be 2 months, 3 months before they come back with another red wine. And that's just wine. Then you have the other versions like Russian drinks, right? There's Russian wine. There's Japanese wine. So there's different versions of white wine because it's like the best one. That's when you take the women out to the expensive restaurants that are in Beverly Hills, Century City, Hollywood, Santa Monica. Between Santa Monica, Culver City, Century City, and the Grove, they got by far the best wine. Like, I've seen when I used to work at the Grove, I was seeing them pour Corbel. There's champagne. Same thing with champagne. There's some champagnes that, like, they even made a champagne version of white wine and black wine and red wine. And the same thing with white wine champagne, it sells out too fast. How do I know? Because my dad would buy it, and my dad would let it stay in the refrigerator for like almost 7 months. And my dad would look at me and say, if you ever get a girlfriend, keep it in the refrigerator. Don't leave it out in room temperature. It tastes nasty in room temperature. You keep it in the refrigerator, it's good for 7 months. You know that old saying when they say, they always say men age like fine wine. Well, wine can last for years. It could be 15 years and the wine tastes that good. It could be 20, 25 years and that wine tastes good. Like, you can say, I met this girl 15 years ago and this is the red wine that I use. Each wine is supposed to be related to something. Like, white wine is where you take the girl out to dinner. If you can't get white wine, that's what black wine's for. And then it's very rare to get red wine. Like, it's rare, but it's limited. That's why they have a limited supply of red wine. Now, I've never tasted red wine, but my mom's tasted like all the versions of it. My dad has had black wine and said it's good, but it's not as good as white wine. My dad has had white wine twice. He's never tasted the red wine. My mom have. Then there's champagnes. There's apple cider. Like, whenever I mess with some champagne, I usually mess with apple cider. And I actually drunk that when I was a kid. It's like an alcohol version of apple juice. Some of you know what I'm talking about. Some of you like, what? Apple cider? Yeah, it's like it's like an adult version of apple juice. That's the best way to describe it. And you see, you can get champagnes and you can get a lot of these wines at the liquor store. You know how you always go to Target and they always have the Target version of Skin Clear, and then there's the actual version? Well, they even made a generic version of red wine, black wine, white wine. They even made another one that's supposed to be from France that tastes so good that some people say it could kind of rival the white wine. So there's wines and there's champagnes. Now, I feel like if you're going to mess with wines and champagnes, you need to know what year it was made, what city and state or what country it comes from, and you need to know the rules. You don't you don't showcase that until you get to know the girl for 3 months, 9 months. It could be a year later or 2 years later. That's when you can bring out your Mac Daddy moves. Pickup artists and the dating coaches don't talk about that in their 2 hour, 3 hour, 4 hour seminars. They leave 90% of this information out intentionally on purpose. And if you have some pickup artists and dating coaches that do talk about this, they gonna charge you $300, $500, $1,000, two, three, four, five. They could charge $6,000 to learn this information. I'm telling it to you for free. I don't believe in charging people money on how it can help them improve when it comes to sex and dating. So I'm not a pickup artist and I'm not a dating coach. If anyone tries to mistake me as a pickup artist or a dating coach, I'll get upset because I'm not a pickup artist. I'm not a dating coach. If you're going to label me something or stereotype me something, you better say a bad boy. You better say a player. Or you better say the Mac or something. Something that's legitimate. A pickup artist is a group of guys that take you to a nightclub and give off the suspension of disbelief that you can score in 1 week in such a short period of time. That environment only exists in television and film. In real life, you can't achieve or accomplish nothing in such a short period of time. It's impossible. That's like saying if Superman was real, you could replicate Superman's powers and try to defy the laws of physics. So it's called suspension of disbelief. It sounds real, it looks real, it feels real, but it's not real. So therefore, that's why you can't listen to the pickup artist. A dating coach just takes girls that have already been out to the nightclubs and the bars, and after 10 or 15 years, they want to settle down with the right person. All the dating coach is going to do is pair you up with someone that you couldn't get when you was in high school and college. So you might want to be 50-50 with the dating coach. I'm telling you what both are not going to tell you. The dating coach will tell you at some point, step by step, but the pickup artist, the pickup artist ain't going to tell you. Okay? That's what you got to understand. A pickup artist is not going to tell you this information. See, if the pickup artist was to tell you this information, then they got to charge you some money. And then most of the time, you could pay all that money to a pickup artist, and they still may not tell you this information. Think about it. That's why I'm telling you about the wines, the champagnes, and I'm trying to break it down on how it's supposed to be done. You got to know what year it was made, what city, what state, and what country it come from. Sometimes you can speak the languages of where the wine was made. I'm not saying you got to be like James Bond, an apple martini. There goes another alcohol beverage. Now, I like the apple martinis because I kept seeing them in the James Bond movies. That's probably why I love the apple martini, because I always saw those James Bond movies. That's the type of drink he drinks. But my point is, you don't do that until after you get to know the girl for 3 months, 9 months, a year later, or 2 years later. You can take her to the expensive restaurants that are in Westwood, Santa Monica, Century City, Beverly Hills, and of course the Grove, where they got some of the best alcohol beverages I've ever seen. I've never tasted them because I asked this one guy that was a bartender, I said, how much y'all charge to drink white wine? And he was like, our white wine can cost anywhere from like maybe $50 to like almost $100. And that's just one small little cup. Now try to get 2 or 3 cups of white wine. Yeah, you probably gonna be out of $200 or $300. Cause if you're dating a girl, you might try to have 2 cups. She might have 2 cups. That might cost you $200. And that might just be $200 of white wine. And because it's called white wine and it's the best, you forget there's tax. So that's probably $220 out your pocket. You know, they ain't cheap. You know, you can go to the 99-cent store and get the knockoff, and you be like, man, this don't taste right. You go to the liquor store, it ain't perfect, but it's close. But you go to an expensive restaurant in Beverly Hills, Century City, Culver City, Westwood, Santa Monica, and the Grove, you're gonna be out of $50 to about $200. You know, this ain't no game. This ain't no joke. You know, you want the best of the best, top of the line stuff, you're going to be out of $200. There are some cases where it can go up as high as $300. So, and then you got the ones that cost $1,000. Like there's ones that even go up as far as up to 1,000. Like whenever P Diddy does parties and he orders some white wine and he say, "Let me get 20 bottles of white wine," that's $1,000 right there. Ain't no game, ain't no joke. And this is something that they don't talk about in their 2 hour, 3 hour, 4 hour pickup artist seminars. This is 90% information that they leave out intentionally on purpose just so you can buy their books and their DVDs. I'm telling it to you because it's going to be a help to you in the future. Until then, peace.